Well, good evening, everybody, and how are we all doing today? It is Sunday, the 9th of November 2025. Hope you are well. Hope you are having a great week. Got to say, the weather here in Littlehampton has been absolutely amazing this week. We've had some really nice sunshine, and we've had some really interesting weather. Actually, it's been quite dry again. We're looking forward to a bit of rain now. I have to say, I can't believe I'm saying that, but I think we need a bit of rain just to top things up. How are we all doing? I just realised I haven't set up a few things, so I'm just quickly doing that while we go live. There we go. It is done. First of all, let's see who we've got joining us. We have got Adrian saying hi, Richard and all. We have got Kate saying good evening, Veg Army. We've got Turbo Stream saying good evening, Veg Podcasters. We've got Hargrave Gaff. Hargrave Gas. Hello, everyone. I hope you've had a great week. What a weird time. It's been hot all week and now cold again. It's weird, isn't it? Stuart Jackson, evening, Richard and the Veg Army. Good evening to you. Allotted Chef is there. Evening, all. Good evening to you. Scott is there. Good evening, all. Good evening to you. We have got Anna Jones is there saying evening, gardeners. Good evening to you. Jenny Hullett saying hello, everyone. I hope you're all well. Had a great week. The wind is chilly tonight. I haven't been outside, to be fair, so I'll take your word for that. Andrew is saying, hello, everyone. It's very dark here now, but lovely and cozy by my wood-burning stove. How lovely. How lovely. Digwell, hi, all. Lurking in the background for 5 minutes, just finishing off a chili con carne. Well, funny enough, that was our cook-along challenge for the week, which will be coming up a little bit later on. However, what I want to talk about tonight, of course, is what I have titled, so the gardening and health. This is the title of tonight's, or what we want to discuss tonight. And I honestly, as I always say, there's no right or wrong answers. I want your opinions on this very topic. Do you think gardening, or do you think your health, including your mental health, has benefited from working in the garden, from being a gardener or enjoying the gardening? Personally, I think there are lots and lots of benefits. We've got physical benefits in the fact that gardening keeps you active. Digging, lifting, weeding, it all counts as exercise. We don't need a gym to go to get our exercise. We go down the allotment, we go in the kitchen garden, and we just make the most of what we have around us. It's also, you're moving in natural ways when you are gardening. You're strengthening your muscles and improving flexibility. Plus, you get outside and you breathe in that fresh air, soak up the daylight, which boosts vitamin D and supports sleep. It's one of the reasons that I am quite a tan skin, I think, is because I'm always out in the garden. But what do you think? There's mental health benefits as well when it comes to gardening. Gardening slows us down. This is certainly something I find. It's grounding, quite literally, and it helps reduce the stress. The BBC going off there. I find when I'm down on the allotment in particular, because I'm away from technology, I am able to crack on and do a job. And I just find that all my worries, all my stresses from the week disappear. And this brings me up to my next point. Focusing on soil, seeds and growth just takes your mind off day-to-day worries. And there's something as well I always found quite satisfying. You take a tiny little seed, let's say about that big, you grow it into a plant that could be many feet tall. It's really quite happily, in my opinions. So lots of good reasons. And the other thing with an allotment as well, and this is something that I think we often overlook, the community. I know there's going to be exceptions to this rule, because I had a conversation earlier with somebody that's having a bit of a trouble, to say the least, with their allotment people, but chatting to the neighbours over the fence or around your allotment, it just helps. And I think particularly when you're lonely, getting down in your allotment and chatting with your neighbours helps. There are, of course, problems with that. But what do you think? What do you think about that? Turbo Stream says, not much sunshine here in the Shire, damp, wet and very grey and dull. Just the conditions to set off my sad. Yeah, sad is one of those things that is going to come up, isn't it? It's kind of related to what we're talking about today. When we're out in the garden, we're soaking in that sun. and that makes all the difference, in my opinion. Nicola's joined. Evening, Richard and all, from a wet Cornwall. It's wet down in Cornwall, so perhaps rain is making its way to the east, coming in from the west. Turbo Stream says, also had another run-in with an angry dog owner on my bike. I certainly pick 'em. Not the same one, I hope. Kate says, gardening has been the best thing I have ever done for my mental health. I do struggle some days at the moment as I'm not physically able to, and they get me down. But when I can, I feel amazing. I've got to say, that's something I find. There are times when I feel that I can't get out in the garden or the allotment because life is just getting in the way. And I really feel it on the shoulders, as sort of saying, yeah, you're getting slammed down. But then I find when I get, and I had one of those yesterday, I just got down the allotment for a few hours and I concentrated on what I wanted to do. It just meant that all my stresses and everything disappeared. And it is such a good feeling. However, obviously, everybody has different issues, and Kate is a great example of physical, I don't want to say problems, physical abilities get in the way. Ian has joined. Evening, Original. I saw you on another video this week on your tractor. Hope you are doing well, my friend. Stuart says, it doesn't matter who you are. We all have failures and positives. If I hadn't had my garden in lockdown, I think I would have gone mad. I agree. And I think it makes a big, big difference. I think lockdown was a great example of when people returned to their allotment, returned to their garden, and realized the benefits and the fun they could have just outside their back door. So yeah, I think that was lockdown was a great example of the positives of gardening there, and a lot of people jumped on the gardening bandwagon. Is that the right word, gardening bandwagon? What do you think? But they jumped into their garden head first and got stuck in. It was a challenging time, of course, but I think it showed what gardening can do for us. Jenny says, my mental health needs a garden and the great outdoors. It allows me to connect to the earth and mother day, hands in the soil and the bare feet on the grass. I feel some sense of control when growing. Excellent. Again, it makes sense. It does make sense. I think getting involved in the garden, getting involved in the allotment, it makes all the difference. It does make us feel happier. I find it really hard to describe the feeling I get when I'm, in particular on the allotment. I think that's a great example because I don't get the same feeling when I'm working in my kitchen garden. Don't get me wrong, I love being in my kitchen garden, but the allotment just has a very different feeling, and I can't put my finger on trying to describe what it is. Perhaps that's something we could go into a little bit later on. D. Gwell says, gardening gets you out and about, mingling with others, if you like that sort of thing. Plus, the daylight activates the vitamin D in your body, which is always a good thing. Again, I agree with that. I do agree with that. And I do think it is important to get out, mingle with people. I know there's a lot of retired people who they say once they retired, once they stopped working, they stopped going out and seeing people. And I think that's why there's a lot of retired people who have an allotment, because actually it's more about seeing people and getting out of their house. Again, this was something we experienced during the lockdown, wasn't it? When it was difficult to get out the house, it was difficult to see people. I was lucky enough I could go to my allotment. I was furloughed during the lockdown, but I was lucky enough I could go to my allotment every day and not so much see people. Well, I could see people, but it just got me out the house. My wife, unfortunately, she was stuck indoors. Apart from our walk in the evening, she was stuck indoors all day and couldn't really go anywhere. So yeah, difficult times, but it proves how good a thing gardening can be. Jenny says, our own food, free from nasty chemicals, low footprint on the planet, supporting wildlife, etc. Absolutely. This is one of many benefits of gardening. Turbo Stream says, despite me wanting to give up my allotment a few times, the last couple of years, I do realise it does help my mental health a lot. Plus, I value the community down there. Exactly. Getting down on, I do think sometimes, even if you don't do any work, just getting down on the allotment helps, in my opinion. Digwell says to TurboStream, same here with a dog while cycling last week. I saw an elderly couple at a junction, dinged my bell. They decided to cross without looking, and their tiny dog decided to try and bite my ankle. Needless to say, there was a few choice words passed their way. Yeah, but as a dog owner, you have got to be responsible for your dog anyway. TurboStream does add that it wasn't the same dog owner, but another one who objected to me asking her to pop the dog on its lead as it ran across a field and startled me. Dog was muscled, which tells you a lot about the owner. Yeah. Nicholas says, thumbs up. Oh, yeah, please do give us a thumbs up, a like, a subscribe, and click the notifications so you know when we go live. What have we got? Digwet says, all done. Slow cooker chili, been on the go since 10 a.m. Hurry up and finish the show, the Veg Grower podcast, so I can eat it. I've got to eat mine. I've only got a small bowl because I'm having a lot of mine for lunch this week. But yeah, the allotment dog owner had a visit from the police last week. Serves him right. Excellent. And Rob's allotment channel says he's in the pub still. Hope the pub is good. What have we got? Jenny says, I have mobility issues, etc., but the connection to fresh air and a space to allow the mind to slow is so beneficial. Also, the magic of watching the seeds germinate in the ground is amazing. So let's tackle this point. Because I don't want to get too far away from this conversation, but the mental health aspect of growing your own or gardening, what is it? How could you describe how it benefits us? How can you describe how it works, how it makes you feel good? I said earlier, I was trying to button down what it is about the allotment that makes me feel different when I work on the allotment than I do down in the kitchen garden. And I've been struggling with that. I think when I'm on the allotment, it's because, or when I compare the allotment to the kitchen garden, rather, if I'm in the kitchen garden, I've probably got the dog, I've got the chickens, which I absolutely love those. And then Amanda could be indoors. I think it's very easy if I don't something in the garden to run indoors, maybe with the intention of making a cup of coffee or something, and then get easily distracted. I can't describe the difference in the feelings, but when I'm in the kitchen garden, I still enjoy being in the kitchen garden, don't get me wrong. I guess there's also an aspect that there's my neighbours. I like my privacy, especially in my house, in my kitchen garden. I like my privacy. And if I hear my neighbours, I suddenly go quiet. This is one of the things I noticed. I've got a microphone in my hand. I'll be talking away, hear my neighbours, I suddenly go quiet like this, which is not a good thing. It's just something about it. But I'm trying to describe, I cannot describe the difference or why there is a difference between how the kitchen garden and the allotment makes me feel. I wonder what you think on that. Ian says, I'm fine, thanks, Richard. All quiet on the Western Front as far as I know. They know what to expect from me. If they don't like it, that's filmed a month or so ago. Thought it was. The weather looked too good. Hashtag mission, do a show about issues with dogs. It's in there. If that comes up, it could well come up. I think it's certainly something we need to discuss in some ways. Turbo Sphere says, I'm hoping the changes I'm making will help me next year to make my allotment more enjoyable and productive. Yeah. I think making the allotment, and actually that's a good point. I think one of the conversations I had today is that certain people have been losing enthusiasm with gardening, and particularly on the allotments for a wide range of reasons. And I do think sometimes we do lose it. This year has been particularly hard for growing your own. It's been a very, very dry year. Sometimes it's a case of taking a step back and sort of analysing, well, what went wrong? What can we do differently? And trying to figure out how we can make our allotment or our gardening much more enjoyable. And I guess that might be a question I'm going to ask you now. What is it you could do in your allotment or your kitchen garden that would make it much more enjoyable? That's a good question there, actually. I'm going to throw that out there to you now. What have we got? Andrew says, gardening appeals to all the senses. I especially love the smell of the earth. Agree. I agree. There is something about it, isn't there? Um, I think there is something about the smell, and there's something about being in nature that makes it all worthwhile. Ian says, I found gardening very good for all my stress in the past. Green therapy for sure. Green therapy, that's a good phrase. But what is it? What is it that has benefited? How, if you could describe how gardening has made you feel less stressful, how could you put that into words? Nicholas says the excitement of seeing the seeds push through with their first shoot, the planting and plant out, the harvest and then the tasting, uncooked or cooked, a self pat on the back. Indeed, the sense of accomplishment goes a long, long way. Stu says, after a very stressful week, I find spending a couple of hours in the garden just relaxes me and I can clear my head. Clear your head. That's exactly the word I was trying. That's exactly the way I feel when I'm on the allotment. The head clears. And you listen to the birds and nature just does it for me. Absolutely. Absolutely. Idaho Garden Girl has joined. Welcome along. Lovely to see you. We're talking about how gardening benefits your health. Turbo Stream says, I can't tell you why I like growing food. It was never part of my life's plan to have an allotment, but now I have one. I just love it. I just need to turn my attention to my home garden now. I'll be honest, it wasn't my intention to have an allotment either. I always felt like I was too busy for an allotment. Then I got one. I was co-working and I was hooked. Now I have two, but I still love it. Still love it. Chitty Kate has joined, says, sorry, been listening and working. For me, when I go to the allotment, it's just about being at the allotment. Housework is far away. Interesting, isn't it? Interesting, actually, that term housework and allotment work. I mean, I guess that's the wrong way. Wrong word to describe it as allotment work. But there is a difference, isn't there? Working on the allotment or even in the kitchen garden doesn't feel the same as doing housework, even though they could be classed as a similar sort of thing. I don't know anybody that really enjoys, well, I do actually know people who enjoy cleaning or housework, but I don't think anybody or most of us really enjoy housework. It's just something we have to do. But gardening for me is not a chore. Allotted chefs have been a chef, which can be fast-paced and stressful. I find being down the plot slows everything down. Again, I can completely see that being on the allotment, slowing things down, that headspace, isn't it? You guys are actually finding the words that I can't find. Slowing things down, headspace, absolutely great. Thomas Stream says, at home I like sitting in my garden, but I'm overlooked by a work at the home neighbour, so tend to garden on the weekend here. Yeah, I go for the same sort of thing as I said earlier. Jenny says, I'm not sure of the scientific terms or words, but designed to interact with the earth. We are designed to interact with the earth. There is bacteria in the soil that our gut reacts to. Our feel-good hormones increase when outside. Agree. The feel-good hormones do increase. Let's think about a bit more about physical. I asked you a few questions earlier, and I can't remember what the last one I asked was, but the physical benefits. Does anybody find that the physical benefits of gardening make it worthwhile, or what's going on? Let us know. Let us know what the physical benefits from your garden are for you. Jenny says, Richard, send the people you know who like cleaning to my house. I could entertain them for a day or two. Yeah, I will when I finish my house in about a month or so. Ian says, growing is addictive and so satisfying when you take home your homegrown food. I agree. But homegrown food actually is something we need to talk about as well as one of the benefits of gardening and health. Toby Strew says, I suppose my friend influenced me and now I'm carrying on his allotment. All my tools, etc. are his, so it's nice to remember him sometimes down there. Funny enough, this is something, my original allotment that I had in an allotment that I was co-working with a very close friend of ours. Unfortunately, about a year ago, he passed away, which is really, really sad. And I often think about that when I'm working on the allotment. He was a lovely, lovely bloke, really lovely bloke, and he's sorely, sorely missed. He was like an uncle to us. He made our on our wedding cake. On our wedding day, he made our wedding cake. It was that much of a really, really good friend to us, and it's quite sad when people die like that. Nicholas says, hopefully our homegrown has more nutrients than the commercial grown. Again, this is bringing up the food aspect, full of nutrients. And I certainly think it's full of flavour. And I think the flavour comes from the fact as well, it's got higher nutrients and it's healthier. It's not sprayed in, well, most of us are organic and we don't spray our stuff in gardening. For me, gardening isn't just about food. It's what keeps us balanced. Even after a long day, half an hour outside resets me. It's a therapy with a trowel. Love it. Love it. Turbo Stream says, my allotment doesn't do my lower back any good, though, even with no dig. Actually, that's a good point, isn't it? When you're working in the garden, the lower back does ache after a while when you sort of leaning over trying to do things. And this is one of the things that I've sort of said with what do I call it? My potting table, my potting bench. We've got to higher it up because it's too low and it's starting to hurt my back. Although I do plan to build my own potting bench one day, so that will hopefully go when that happens. But yeah, the lower back can hurt if we don't place things correctly. Kate says it can only be exercise I can manage some days, so it helps with mobility. Absolutely, absolutely. Digwell says, I've not used my car for 4 weeks now since I bought a bike. My allotment is an uphill cycle from my house, so it's blessed relief to free-wheel home. Glad it's not the other way round. So my question, and I love this, by the way, I'm not going to say anything against what you're talking about there, but my question to you, Digwell, is your car was also your shed. How are you managing that on a bike? Just out of curiosity more than anything. Idaho says, my garden gives me purpose. Life seems kind of dull without gardening. It's a wholesome, productive activity, and it is ever changing. Every year is different. Absolutely, absolutely. Nutrients help with physical and mental health. Absolutely. And we've got Jenny says, before my health changed, I loved the physical side of things, especially when it's cold outside. I always made me feel healthy and good. I miss the physical side of things. I'm struggling to help. I struggle needing help. Yeah, there's no shame in needing help. Let's be clear. There's no shame in needing help. It happens to all of us. So, but the physical side, yeah. Andrew Edwards has joined over on Facebook. Hey, Richard, as you know, I love my allotment. Today we had a great roast dinner with freshly picked veg, which is my greatest achievement. I love the leg workout from weeding. Yeah, again, this comes back to the physical side, isn't it? The physical side, how some people will pay a fortune for a gym membership, and we do pay a fortune in some cases for our allotment. I don't know how much you pay for your allotment. Mine is £110 a year now, I think. It's still cheaper than gym membership, and I get to take home lovely food at the same time. But benefits all around again, and it's cheaper than a gym membership in that regard, isn't it? It's much cheaper, and it's physical work at the same time. Even no dig. Now, traditional gardeners would obviously dig over the soil, and I've seen really good, strong blokes absolutely sweating bucket loads from digging over the soil. But no dig is just as hard work in some ways as well. So digging out the compost from the compost bin is hard work, and then putting it into a wheelbarrow and taking that to where you need it is hard work. It's all a physical activity that keeps us in good physical health, I guess. Ian says, my mate is 89 and was originally a nursery man, and then, like me, made redundant, so started his own gardening business. At 75, he was still cutting lawns for clients and still has a stunning garden. There you go. Keeps you young as well. Keeps you young. Turbo Stream says, as well as my back, I suffer from dry eye syndrome, so I struggle in the cold. My eyes water, so I won't be doing much over winter. I need a still dry day. Any amount of wind, then it's game over. Cucumbers are meant to help with dry eyes, aren't they? Put them over your eyes. Scott says, agree with a lot of chef gardening. Definitely helps me slow down, becoming more mindful, and helps me notice the world around me. Noticing the world around me. Yeah, yeah. Digwell, I asked a question earlier how he's getting on without using his car as his shed. Nothing in the shed that I need to use at present, but my treader has a front granny shopping basket for small things like bags, secateurs, hand sprays, etc. Excellent, excellent. Bonnie in Brighton has joined. Welcome along. Lovely to see you. We're talking about how gardening and can benefit your health, both mentally and physically. We got there. What have we got? And Turbo wear swimming goggles as a way of getting down the allotment when the strong winds and dry ice. Good tip. I don't know if it will work though. I don't know if it will work. Now, I'm going to say, what do you think? I'm going to ask this question. I just want a single word answer from everybody who is in the audience. What do you think you get the most health benefit from? Is it your mental health or your physical health that benefits from gardening? One word answer, physical or mental. What do you think benefits the most from your gardening? Turbo Stream says, I need drops for my eyes. My eyes don't properly produce enough oil, so they dry out. Yeah, interesting. Bonnie says, I've got an area that's full of stones and quite deep, at least 18 inches. I've dug down. Any ideas on what to grow there? So I'm guessing where you are in Hove, you've probably got a lot of flint and chalk at that deep level. So instead of digging down, I'll be inclined to build your soil up. Build it raised beds and add compost to build your soil up instead of digging down. That's what I would say personally. If it's anything like my allotment I had in Brighton, you had some really good fine soil for about 18 inches, and then you hit chalk, and you could break through the chalk, but it was hard work. So dig up is my advice. What we got? Mental, says Jelly. It helps I'm mental. Dig well mental. We got mental health for me. Mental says Idaho. A lot of chefs says mental. Oh, Ian says both. He's gone in there with both. Okay. Scott says mental. Turbo Stream says mental. Hargrave Gas says mental. I think I'd say both, says Nicola. Hannah says mental. What else have we got? Interesting. A lot of people are saying the mental health boosts the most. So interesting, that. Very interesting. Bonnie in Brighton says it's an area where previous owner threw the stone they found on the plot. You've either got to look at raised beds or you've got to sieve it out. The two choices. Digwell actually says raised beds, had to do the same on my first plot. Yeah, I would go raised beds, or you're going to have to get a giant sieve and try and sieve out all those stones. It's the only way it's going to work, I'm afraid. It's going to be a lot of work at the same time. Social community. Yep. Yeah, that is a benefit. Would that benefit your mental health, I guess? Yeah, I think that's what we said. So mental out of the two choices. We're all mental, says Chilli Kate. Indeed, we are. You come here and join me every Sunday night. You must be mental. But I appreciate every single one of you, and I love seeing you every single week. Nicola says, Bonnie, I did this with stone, but pot as base on paths. Yeah, that's what I was thinking actually with that stone. You could sieve it out and keep those stones to build some paths or something to make it a bit easier to walk on. It's going to be hard work. That's why I think raised beds is probably going to be the easy way. We got some conversations. Turbo Stream says, I'm definitely mental, Chilli Kate. Indeed. Scott says, I think there is something primal about gardening for food. It's in our DNA, I think. I agree. I do actually think there's a lot of things in our primal instincts that come out when we're gardening. And I use the example, if you look at good, healthy soil, you can tell what is good, healthy soil just by looking at it. You can tell dead soil. And it's the same with plants. You can tell when a plant is not looking its best just by looking at it. There's something very primal, something very instinctive about that. Uh, Bonnie says, not MH, not mental health, it's social, which is huge fun. Yeah, I guess it's social health. Social health. Yeah, actually, I kind of agree as well. Now you say that, social health. I haven't quite looked at it as a health, but I can see what you're saying there. I think again, social health after COVID did take quite a battering there. Digwell says, if I knew what primal means, then I might agree with you. Primal, caveman instinct, that caveman instinct. That's how I would say describe it. Ian says, I'm 59 and having worked with younger people than me, I know my fitness is better than the ones I have worked with. Some flag by 2 p.m. Again, I agree. Different people, different jobs do lead to different strengths and fitnesses. So just to be fair, just to balance that, if you get an office worker to go lift a ton of bricks every day, they're not going to be able to do it at first. Turbo Stream says, I've loads of stone this year. I've chucked them over to the bottom of the fence into the stream behind the allotment. Yeah, fill up that ditch. Fill up that ditch. Scott says, relating to an early stage in evolutionary development, primal hunting societies. Describing primal for Digwell there. Nicholas says, mental health issues, they do offer people to go to community garden groups often. Yes, I know a very good friend of mine. I haven't seen her for a few years, actually. I must catch up with her. She's very much into getting gardening for the mental, or getting gardening on the NHS as a mental health therapy. And I think it's very important. I do think it is very, very important thing to do. And it is becoming more and more mainstream how gardening is helping people with their mental health. But I think we really have focused a lot on mental health, but physical health is something I think we're overlooking a little bit. And I like to go back to how gardening benefits our physical health, if I may, because I do think there's something in it. I do think that, as I said, I don't join a gym. I used to be a kickboxer. I used to really enjoy that. But I don't go to the gym. And yes, I am overweight. I'll grant that. I do need to lose some weight. But physically, I'm actually quite fit. You wouldn't believe it if you saw me, but I am actually quite fit and I do keep myself very busy. And not the only form of exercise, I do a lot of walking, but my main form of exercise is gardening or down on the allotment. And it's a lot of work. There's a lot of walking involved. There's a lot of bending and stretching to get things and do things. Yes, I do try to do things safely, of course, but times happen that things cannot be done as safe as they could be. So we have to stretch to reach certain things. We all do it, don't we? We are all guilty of it. Digwell, it's in our DNA to kill animals, but I try not to. I may start if another dog tries to bite my ankles. It's an interesting analogy there, actually. Interesting analogy. Our allotment lane is like a village green. Whereabouts is your allotment? Is it? I'm trying to think because I know it's in Hove somewhere. I can't place it off the top of my head. Turbo Stream says, actually, Groundfield is a skill to be learned, and we all know it's hard sometimes. Of course, it's hard. If it was easy, everybody would be doing it. It's not. It's hard. And I think, that comes back to the mental health. Keeping your mind active and thinking, I think, is very, very important. My wife's nan, before she passed away, was a very, very keen gardener. And I tell you what, her mind was sharper than anybody I have ever met. There was no flies on her because she just knew, or her mind was just so sharp that everything happened and she could get on with it. It was a great start, great to do. And I put that down to gardening and her career. Stuart's got to go. See you all next week. Happy gardening. You take care, Stuart. Digwell, my first plot was untended for 8 years, so everyone else used to dump their stones on it. Ex-quarry site. Yeah, that's why I think going up is the best way. Jenny says, amazing garden communities like ours is wonderful. A brilliant, friendly bunch of people who support each other and enjoy sharing each other's experience and stories. At the end of the day, this is what we do every Sunday. We want everybody's stories and experience to learn off each other. Also, I can do loads of shopping, directed allotment without spending very much. Yeah, absolutely. I'm definitely stronger at the end of a growing season, says Nicola. Yeah, absolutely. Bonnie, I think that might be the case with overgrown plot not worked much in 6 years. Yeah. Digwell, Kickboxer, is that why you always get knockout deals? Absolutely. North Neville, near the Engineerium. Okay, I know the place. I just can't think where the allotment site is there, so it must be hidden away one. Turbo Stream says, I said, oh no, hang on, I've just thought where it is. I know where it is now. It's clicked. Turbo Stream, I certainly get my steps in, just get into my plot and then all to and fro and I do. Yeah, again, I think there are a lot of benefits, physical benefits. Now, question I'm going to ask everybody, who here digs their allotment? I said earlier about how digging an allotment is hard work, and I agree it is hard work. But I think it damages the soil health too much nowadays that we tend to go for no dig gardening. But I know there are going to be some diggers in the audience. If you are, say so. Again, don't feel like you can't say it. There's no right or wrong way in this group. Jenny says physical benefits are amazing, and I don't think we really realise how hard we work our bodies. To carry a wet bag of compost, to dig out a shrub, to push a full wheelbarrow, full body workout for free. Yeah, absolutely. Again, I remember on my old allotment, my Brighton allotment, and I used to carry 2 bags of compost on my shoulder and walk down a very steep hill to get to my allotment. How I never broke my ankle, I will never know. But even digging out a shrub, you're right, it's hard work, or even a tree. It's hard work, but it's stuff that we love to do at the end of the day. Ian says, without being morbid, I had bladder cancer at 32. Gardening has been so good for physical and mental well-being. It's probably why I'm still here now. I agree. I think it is why you're still here now. At the end of the day, we all love our gardening. Digwell says, I'm lucky that my grandkids follow me and grow as much as I do. They love it. And my allotment doesn't do my stupid stomach much good, though. Often get a reflux when I bend down. Actually, that's something I find. If I eat too much before I go down the allotment, I do get that acid reflux as well when I'm bending over. That's why I started listening to my body a bit better and only doing certain things, or not eating a large meal before I go to the allotment, and no, I'm going to be doing something that might bring that on. But it's the same in the kitchen garden as well. You know, got to be a little bit careful what I do when I do it. When I'm on the allotment. Nicola says, I'm only digging while rebuilding beds. Fair enough. Bonnie, I'm no dig except that I need to dig out hundreds of bramble roots. See, this is the thing. You could dig out the bramble roots, of course. Hard work. Or you could go down the no dig route and just constantly cut that bramble off every time it springs up. Just constantly have that hoe going through. Eventually those roots will die. Remember, a plant needs leaves to photosynthesize. The more you allow it to grow leaves, the more it feeds those roots. Don't allow it to get any leaves, the roots will die. Chili says, I dug over my potato bed yesterday and found another meal's worth of potatoes. Again, doesn't surprise me. And potatoes are a crop that in some ways you do have to dig. I think the difference is with no dig, though, is that you're not digging down when you plant your potatoes. You're sort of building the soil up above the soil level. And I think that's the big thing to remember when it comes to potatoes. Build the soil up instead of down, and you're not disturbing the soil so much. Digworth says, no digging apart from planting things like rhubarb, fruit bushes, trees. Well, that's part of no dig, isn't it? You do have to dig holes to plant certain crops. It's the annuals and repeated digging of the soil that causes the issues. Idaho, no dig, raised beds here. And Turbo Stream says, no dig, but light bonding and plagued by brambles, which cannot be dug up successfully. Just keep that hoe constantly going through the brambles, and they will soon die. Jamie Marsh has joined and says, evening, guys. Good evening to you. Hope you are well. We're talking about how gardening benefits your health, both physically, mentally, and socially, is something else we are realizing. Charles Dowden told me how to manage brambles, and it worked. What was his secret? He said, cut at 60 degrees, 4 inches under the stem. Yeah. Absolutely. My brambles are growing in between my gooseberries, which makes it a hard task. Yeah, I've got that same problem, actually. My gooseberries have got these really thick brambles growing between them, making it really difficult to get them out. And I'm sort of looking at it now and saying, how can I do this? What I'm going to do is cut the stalks off as close to the ground as I can possibly get, throw over a mulch of compost. This is, of course, once all the leaves die down, and then constantly get my hoe working through that soil to try and ensure that the brambles don't regrow. They can still grow back, as Turbo goes on to say. They can still grow back, of course, but they do. Again, I come back. If you keep that hoe constantly working through those brambles, you don't let it put any leaves on, it will eventually die like any plant. If it's got no leaves, it can't survive. Very simple premise. Now, this seems like a good opportunity to go to a video that I have been sent. And this video comes in from our lovely friend, Mr. Andrew Norris, all the way from Croatia.
You might remember last week on Richard's show, I showed a little film about my vegetable garden and how tough the soil is. Well, my lovely neighbour from up the hill is coming down to plough. And it's not just about a neighbour helping a neighbour, but there's a wonderful community that we have at this end of the village. Just 2 or 3 households, but we all help out each other. And it's a real joy when you have that established relationship. So my field is ploughed. Tonna had quite a struggle because the soil is like clay, and I need to do something to improve the quality of it, to make it more fertile and less dense. Any suggestions apart from just manure, which there is a serious lack of here? Please let me know.
Well, what an absolutely lovely video. I hadn't actually watched that before we went live, so that was my first time watching it with you guys. And gotta say, what a lovely, lovely, really well edited video. Love it, absolutely love it. Please do send in your videos, and please do keep anything that you want to send like that in. We would love to play any video in. So thank you very much to Andrew. But Andrew was asking about how we could deal with that clay soil, and I said last week, about various things we could do, and I realized watching that video just how heavy that clay that Andrew has there. That looked incredibly heavy clay soil. So what could I recommend that you would do instead? For me, it's all about green manures. I mean, green manures I've sown some forage rye today, which is great for clay, actually, because it will, on the roots on forage rye, which is a type of cereal crop, will actually go down deep, and it will help break down and take apart that clay soil. And added to that, it protects the soil over winter, and then you cut it down in spring before it flowers, and you can leave the plants to rot down into the soil as well, adding organic matter. So for me, that would be my tip for tackling clay soil like that, Andrew. Forage rye or type of green manure. But I'd love to see what anybody else has to say on that as well. Digwell says most perennial weeds will die if cut down 4 or 5 times. No leaves, no sugars to use the building blocks. I watch my plot neighbours digging up docks and stinging nettles only to miss a bit and do it again. Absolutely. There are certain crops that do expand or the roots do expand and spread when you cut them down. But I think if you constantly cut down, they will eventually die. You've just got to keep on it quite strong, quite hard. Gary has joined. Hello. Oh, sorry I'm late. I was watching a very exciting Formula One race. Oh, is it Formula One? That explains why there's a few people not watching tonight. Who won? I probably haven't got a clue who they are anyway. And where was it? Ian says the best way to get rid of your brambles is send for body. Well, I'm trying to think. I think is it goats that are good for removing brambles as well, isn't it? They're meant to be quite good for removing brambles because they chew at them and get rid of them. Turbo Extreme says reluctantly I bought that SBK brushwood killer to carefully spot treat the new bramble leaves. It's one way. Again, I don't use weed killer, but there's no right or wrong way here. It's not illegal, so if that's what you want to do, you do it. And it says, in my heavy clay garden, I love digging my vegetable beds and filling them with compost, but it is the only part of my garden that I dig. Fair enough. As I said, everybody will dig their garden or treat their garden differently. If you want to dig heavy clay soil, I know what you mean. Heavy clay soil can be quite tricky. It's taken me a long time to build up the compost levels in my soil to get it to the point that it's actually quite good soil now. And then we've got to keep topping up the compost every year to maintain it. Otherwise, all that compost just gets sucked into the soil and it loses its vigor. It's a thing that looks good on it over time. If it works, no problem. Exactly right. Jenny says, loads with brambles. If you cut the long stems and tie it in hoops of various sizes, leave them dry out completely so they don't root. They make fantastic defense hoops for seedlings and young plants. Indeed, especially slugs. They're meant to be, you put a ring of brambles around your slugs and they don't tend to like it too much. I just want to remind everybody, if you've got a cook-along or a mission that you would like me to do for next week's show, hashtag cook-along or hashtag mission, as you can see at the bottom of the screen. You can also make plant supports with similar benefits from pigeons, etc. Absolutely, absolutely. Bonnie says, Ian, you know what I did in the end? A 1.5 ton digger is shifted the bramble hedge roots. Yeah. Bramble hedge roots can be a big problem. As I said, it really depends on how you want to go about it. Digwell says, Andrew has taken the I'm not no dig to the extreme. Absolutely. Lovely video, says Jenny. Yeah, really lovely video. We want more like that. Andrew says to Digwell, indeed, since no root veg can penetrate deeper than 3 to 4 centimeters. That's why I think forage rye would be a good choice. Facilia might work, but green manures. I mean, I'm sowing green manures like mad at the moment. Anytime there's an empty space and nothing can go in there, green manures is going in. I use brambles as defense, says Jenny. And Ian says, Bonnie, you have transformed your plot. Indeed, indeed. Idaho, I was raised thinking I had to dig and turn the soil over every year. However, once on my own, I quickly decided no dig was the way. I didn't realize lack of a method was actually a method. Yeah, it happens. It does happen. I did that when I was a kid. Just went no dig because it just didn't make any sense to me why we'd dig the soil. And that was before no dig was a thing that we have now. Now it's got a name. I was doing it when I was 10 years old, nearly 30 years ago. I just laid the manure compost on top. Jenny says, I have heavy, thick clay, thick grey clay in places. I have added lots of roots who grow all at different levels to break up the surface, and chop and drop has been amazing for my soil. Absolutely, absolutely. Andrew says, I tried green clover this year, but nothing really grew. Maybe I sowed it too late. Green clover likes quite a fine soil. It probably would struggle on that clay soil, to be honest, to get growing. It's certainly in its first. If you had a fine tilth, it would probably grow a bit better. It could probably get established. But looking at how thick that clay was, I think going for forage rye would be my suggestion. See how you get on with that. If not mature, says Ian, then grit will help, or calcified lime will keep it open. Yeah. Yeah, there used to be stuff that you could add, wasn't it? A clay breaker that you used to sprinkle on the soil to break down clay soils. Again, I don't use it myself. I've got no experience of using it, but each to their own. Well, it may work. Turbo Stream says to Andrew, all you can do on that land, now you've dug it, is to keep on applying compost year in, year out. It does eventually work down in the soil. Yeah, absolutely. Keep adding organic matter. Straw, compost is the best one. Manure, anything like that. Keep adding it. But as Andrew said in that video, he doesn't have much access to manure at the moment. So other ways of doing it. Any organic additions, says Digwell, will help. Leaves, grass cuttings, straw, hay if you have to, even old non-composted kitchen trimmings. Yeah, anything like that will work. Jamie says goats love them. Oh yeah, goats love brambles. Yes, I remember that. From Clarkson's farm, he was getting goats to tackle the brambles, which is a way. Right, if you can have goats, of course. Not everybody has that luxury, but the goats will chomp them down to the ground. I think pigs are also good for digging up the roots, if I remember correctly, too. Idaho says, I have heard that planting some giant Japanese radishes that don't harvest but let their huge, deep roots rot in place helps break up clay. That's actually a good one. Yes, something like the mooli or the daikon radish, the big, huge white ones. Get a few of those. It might be a little bit too late to sow those, but I guess you could do it under a cloche. And those roots will grow down really nice and deep. And then you let them basically die when they've been grown too long and rot down in place. And that helps add organic matter to the soil at the same time. So that's an idea as well. It's like daikon or mooli radish. I have a compost heap, but can I add it now before it has really broken down? Yeah, there's no harm. I would say there's no harm. It would be best if it was fully broken down. So it will add organic matter to the soil, but I would probably give it a bit longer to rot down, to fully broken down, which is why I've got several compost bins on the allotment. So I had one that was there for a year to break down and produce enough compost that the next ones can follow through and fill up in the meantime. So yeah, you could add it, but I would be inclined to hold off for another 6 months or so to get more compost. Toby Strip says, I hate weed killer too, Richard. I tried digging them out, but they just grew back. I use it very sparingly. As I said, there is, and I firmly believe this, there is a place for weed killer. I don't use it. I don't want to use it, but I'm not against the use of it because I do believe there is a place for weed killer. Nicholas says, my pigs did well, but destroyed everything else, including my lawn, when they broke free. Yeah, absolutely. Digwell says, absolutely is now chop and drop. Chop and drop works. I use both. Chop and drop. So this is something I've only recently discovered, is where you take some old plants, you cut them down, you chop them, and you leave them on the surface where you cut them to rot back down in place into the soil. It's very popular, and it seems to be doing a lot of good for many soils. So chop and drop might well work. I'm having real troubles with my words today. Thanks, Digwell. That is what I shall do. You're a thorny person. I'm really behind on the comments, aren't I? Andrew, do you have access to pigs in Croatia? I walked a wire forest a few years ago, and they were using pigs to remove the brambles and turn the soil over. I hope they work for you, Turbo. Sort of like how the old-fashioned runner bean trenches would work. Absolutely. They did, Jenny, amazingly so. In fact, conversations going on. Only wild ones, and they tend to get shot. What about keeping a couple of pigs on your land for a few months to try and rejuvenate the soil? You know, soil health is so important at the moment. Idaho says, luckily, brambles don't grow around here unless one plants them. They will do well once planted, but they just don't grow wild in my area. It's probably because you're too dry for them. Brambles I tend to find, like really moist soil, really damp soil. And they grow best near a stream. I get some of the juiciest, plumpest blackberries when they grow near a stream. What have we got? Sorry, I'm skipping some of these comments because I'm not sure what the conversation is related to. Let the worms do the work for you. Indeed, let the worms do the work for you. The wild pigs have a better life than the ones held by the households, and they're tastier. That doesn't surprise me. Why does nothing much grow near my bay tree? I'm trying to think. Do bay trees have something in? I mean, the obvious thing is they shade a lot of things out, but I think bay trees are one of those trees that also has certain chemicals, either in its leaves or in its roots, that inhibit the growth of other seeds, other plants, from growing near it. From memory, I can't remember if that is one that has it though. Use grass clippings. Another idea there for the clay soil. Add grass clippings to improve that soil. Chop and drop is for weeds. Chop and drop is for weeds. Chop and drop is for harvests. That's the same thing, isn't it? You're going to have to explain that one to me, Digwell. I'm probably losing it again. Bay trees are hungry and can use up available nutrients in the soil, making it difficult for other plants to grow nearby. There we go. I knew somebody would have the answer there. Most likely, tree steals water and nutrients. Digwell, it's a raised beds next to the tree. I don't know. No, it's not my settings, this thing. It's something YouTube or someone else has changed. Nothing to do with my settings, I'm afraid, as far as I am aware. Jamie says he sent me a photo on Instagram. Let's have a look. Oh, look at that. I don't. It might be a bit difficult to see. Oh, I haven't checked Instagram, actually, have I? Oh, that's because I'm not live on Instagram. Look at that from Jamie. That cauliflower, Romanesco cauliflower, looks absolutely stunning. I do like those interesting little cauliflowers. Read it again. Twice you have read crop as chop. Oh, that's probably why. I've only got a tiny little screen here, believe it or not. I've only got a tiny little screen. I'm going to invest in a bigger screen in the not too distant future. But the way I do these shows, I've got a teleprompter so I can watch everything. But the screens is like a 10-inch screen, I guess. It's tiny little thing. 9-inch screen. That's it, a 9-inch screen. But that's a great Romanesco, says Idaho. Perfect cauliflower. Bonnie says, I think maybe the bay tree roots are oozing a no-grow chemical. It could be from my memory. Right, I need to reset myself quickly. So I am going to quickly put up this week's cook-along. So let's watch that and we'll come back and see how it tastes.
Hey! Come and cook with me. Make some food with me. Come on, everybody. We're gonna make some food. Let's go.
Okay, so for this week's cook-along, you want me to cook a bonfire chili. So something quite easy. Let's get to it. Okay, so first things first, I've got a really nice hot pan here into which we're just going to throw in some minced beef. And just get that nicely browned. You can hear that sear already, can't you? Good quality minced beef is a must. Well, that has got the mince nicely browned off. What we've got to do now is drain all the liquid off. Keep the meat, of course, because that is going to go into our stew. Now, on another stove, just down the back there, I'm actually boiling some kidney beans for about 10 minutes, just to get them nicely softened, because they're going to go into this recipe a little bit later. Anyway, let's get this meat browned. So in another tin, pan even, I'm just going to gently cook some pre-chopped onions. I chopped these while the mince was cooking. I've got 2 medium-sized onions that I've chopped up here and going into this pan just with a bit of olive oil, a medium heat, nothing too hot, because we just want to sweat them down for about 10 minutes till they're really nice and soft and translucent. And I do find a nice gentle heat works best for this. So the onions are nearly there, probably another minute or 2 before they're finally ready, but I'm going to add in some garlic. This is my homegrown garlic, and I pop the bulbs straight into the garlic press like so. Squeeze it in. Grab a knife and slide that off. The reason I do that is it saves peeling, because the garlic skin is left there. Give it a good stir. I'm going to add in my homegrown chilies. I've got 4 of them, red and green, because I like to be different. And we'll just cook this for another minute. I'm going to stir it constantly this time. Okay, now we're going to add in that mince. Give that a stir. 2 tins of chopped tomatoes. We'll add some water as well in a minute, but what we also need to do is add some spices. So we've got chili powder, coriander, cumin, mustard powder and cinnamon, just to add a bit of flavour to it. So it's definitely going to need a splash of water, which is fine, that's what we're going to have to add. And one of my secret ingredients, my homemade habanero sauce. We're only going to add a touch of that. Okay, so this chili is bubbling away now. It's been cooking for a few minutes. These have been cooking for 10 minutes and they're about ready to go in. I'm turning the heat down at the same time just to try and get it a very sort of light simmer and give this a good stir. And now we're just going to let this cook very, very gently for a couple of hours, just on a very low heat. So that's just going to simmer for a couple of hours now, and then we'll come back and see how it turns out. Okay, well, it's been a couple of hours now. It's been simmering nicely. Let's have a look at it. Well, I would say that is a nice thick chili. Just perfect for having on these bonfire evenings. There's fireworks going off, which, as you know, I don't like fireworks, but this is a perfect meal for that. Or for lunches. How does it taste? Let's find out back in the studio. Indeed, so I got a small bowl just here, as you can see, but ultimately we want to find out what it tastes like. Now, I've got to admit, I'm going to add quite a big mouthful there. Really nice, really nice. At first I didn't think there was any spice. I'm just going to hint of cinnamon now as well. But at first I didn't think there was any spice, and then it just slowly built up. And I can say now that that habanero sauce that I added, that bit of chili sauce that I added, my homemade chili sauce, has just popped in. It's really made quite hot, but nice hot at the same time. It's not that sort of heat where it just burns your mouth. It's just that little tingle from that habanero sauce and the chilies that have gone into it. Of course, I could have added some more vegetables, some carrots and things, but I didn't. I'm not complaining because that's nice. That's very nice. 9 out of 10. I'm going to give that 9 out of 10. Digwell says, Reminisco Calabrese have a perfect factual repetitive pattern in the florets. Absolutely. Absolutely. Bonnie in Brighton says, cookalong idea. I'm harvesting saffron at the moment, so maybe a recipe that uses saffron. Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. I immediately think of paella, which I love paella. Yeah, I used to grow saffron. I haven't grown it for a while now, actually, because it just don't get a huge amount of saffron. So I didn't bother again, but I might do it again one day. Digwell says, looks great. To take it to another level, try adding 4 or 5 chucks of dark chocolate, a big splash of red wine, and 2 tablespoons of molasses. You will thank me. I'm sure I would. I'm sure I would. I tend not to add sugar to my meals, as you know, but I'm sure I would. Mission, build a potty table. Do you mean a potting table? Yeah, that's going to be a big project, though, to do that, which I'm not ready for at the moment. But if it comes up, I will have to do it. Bonnie in Brighton, Jamie says to Bonnie, I want to grow saffron. I've grown saffron before for many, many years, and I used to love growing it, but you just don't get much saffron from it. You need a lot of area. I mean, I basically grew enough saffron from like 30 bulbs. I grew enough saffron for 1 paella, so I haven't bothered since. I'm not saying I would never bother, because actually the flowers look really nice as well, thinking about it, and it was nice to have that bit of colour. It's just finding the right place to grow them. Scott says, never grown saffron. I should really, as I'm only 30 minutes away from Saffron Walden. Yeah, they probably perfectly grow well in your area. I think The only place I know to get them from at the moment is a place called Farmer's Gracie, something like that is the only place that I can think where they grow or where you can buy them from if you are in the market for them. I am tempted to give it a try again now, talking to you guys. Yeah, sorry. Easy from corns or bulbs, as I like to call them. But yeah, Digwell says no sugar in what I suggested. Well, dark chocolate has sugar. Molasses is a type of sugar, but I'm sure you are absolutely correct. It would bring out the flavour, but I didn't do that on this one. I will do that on the next one. I will say that. I will do that on the next one. I just like my habanero sauce that has gone into that because that has really made me tingle. I have got so many habaneros in my greenhouse still that I've got to harvest this week, and I've got to find some way of using them up as well. I've got to search for ideas because I've got a lot of habaneros. Jenny says, I hate fireworks but love a hot picnic in the dark when cold outside. Yeah, I'm with you on that. I am absolutely with you on that. I do enjoy sitting out in the garden when it's dark and cold with the barbecue going and just cooking up something nice. Bonnie says, I planted 60 bulbs this year. Next year, I'll add another 50 each year. That's the trouble. You do need a lot of them, and they do need quite a bit of space for it to work. Only one piece of saffron is needed to colour a dish. You're right, but you need a few strands to go into a paella. Was my discovery. Nicola says, I saw online too, Richard. I looked at buying bulbs. Was it Farmer's Gracie or something like that? I've seen them at. I've got so many chilies as well, says Jamie. It's been a really good year for chilies. I've got to say, my cayenne chilies have done well. My all my chilies. I forgot where I was going. My mind has completely gone blank. They've all done really, really well this year, the chilies, and I'm really pleased with it actually because I do like chilies. They're one of my favourite things to grow. I've got as Jamie said, I've got so many chilies as well. Habaneros, that's the word I was looking for. Habaneros, cayenne, Apache. I've got, and they're still producing at the moment, even outside. I know it's very mild, but is anybody else finding it so late to still be harvesting things like chilies and tomatoes? Because I feel it is very, very late. Very late. Scott says, hashtag cookalong homemade chili sauce. Yeah, I've already made one, but I'm sure I can make another. Farmer Grace, yes. Thank you, Nicola. I thought it was. There we go. Bonnie says, I'm not sure what companion plants I can plant alongside saffron. Basically, I would plant them underneath or alongside trees or something like that. I don't necessarily think they're a companion plant as such. We don't want to disturb them when they're in the ground. So I would plant them somewhere where other perennial plants are grown would be my advice. In fact, that's just giving me an idea of where I'm going to plant mine. Perhaps in with my asparagus or in with my rhubarb would work. And of course, in with some of my trees. Again, I'm open to suggestions on that. They're crocus at the end of the day, autumn flowering crocus. Or what could you plant them alongside? Have you ever overwintered a chili plant? Yes, I have many times. And in fact, I'm doing it this year. So to overwinter a chili plant, what I recommend you do is around about now, probably should have done it before in most years, but around about now, reduce the branches to 1/3 of what you originally started with. Reduce them right down and then place them inside a greenhouse, inside a well-lit shed, or even in your kitchen windowsill, and just keep them ticking over the winter. Come spring, they should start to bounce back as long as they don't get too humid. Just remember that if they get too humid, they can die. And what you will find is they will start to bounce back come the spring. And when they are about May, it's safe to put them back outside. So, yeah, I have overwintered them. It's really easy to do. It just depends on how well you protect them. Richard, we had a long, dry summer. We've had a long, dry year, to be honest with you. Spring was dry, summer was dry, autumn was dry, and it still seems to be quite warm at the moment. It hasn't been a very hot summer, though, has it? We haven't had sweltering heats like we've had in the past, but certainly dry summer. Digwell says Porkers, B&Q, Thompson & Morgan Group all sell saffron bulbs, a darn sight cheaper than Farmer Gracie. Thank you. Thank you. I haven't seen them on anywhere else, but thank you, Digwell. I will check that out. Nicholas is under fruit trees. Digwell, Sutton's as well. Well, that's part of the Thompson & Morgan Group on that. Scott says, demo, as a mission demo, how to overwinter chilies. Excellent. So we got 2 cookalongs and 3 missions so far. Hope you remember what they are going to be, because we will do that draw in about 10 minutes time. I've just brought a rim divider to grow runner. That's a good idea, using a rim divider to grow runner beans up. I hadn't thought of that. Isn't it creative how we can use things? Not so in Cornwall, quite wet. Digwell says, then anywhere, they reproduce so well that if you damage a few, it will not matter. Mine are in a raised bed and I get enough to last me most of the year, but I did not use a lot. Talking about photos, yet we've got the photos yet to come, but that was about the crocus, the saffron crocus. Yeah, they do reproduce every year, but they do need a bit of feeding to keep them really going. Turbo says we had weeks of 30°C plus, so I beg to differ on a hot summer. I only remember the odd few days of it being that temperature from memory. I felt most of the year was quite pleasant. It was just the odd few days that it was above that temperature. It didn't, from memory, and I could be wrong, it could just be where I live, it didn't feel like we had weeks and weeks of just roasting heat like we've had before. Nicholas says, do rats eat them? They have eaten all of my tulip bulbs. They can do. I'm sure they can do. If they eat anything, they could eat those as well. Hottest summer for decades. I don't remember it getting really, really hot. This is what I mean. Hot because it was probably a long period of warm weather, but I don't remember it being like in the past. I've had weeks where it's just like I can't move. I only remember a day or two of it being that hot. But the hottest summer for decades is because it's taken as an average across that time. So if it's consistently warm, it's going to be hotter than when you get the hot days and the cold days. It's taken as an average. We got foxes say no rats, and rats eat anything. Indeed they do. Turbo, you are by the seaside, so get sea breezes. We bake in the land, locked middle country. That could be the difference. That could be the difference, actually, because I am on the coast. Right, let's have a quick look. If I quickly upload them, because I suddenly realized I haven't uploaded them. Where are we? There we go. This will just take a moment. We'll have a look at your photos that have came in over this week. And then we've got the rant or rave, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on my rant or rave this week. So let's have a look at your photos first of all. Now, Kate has found this apple, which is almost as big as her head. I mean, I did wonder if at first this was a bit of camera trickery, but when you look at the size of her hand in that apple, that is a big apple. It's been another good year for fruit, hasn't it? It's been another good year for fruit. So I'm not surprised that big apples are there. Chili Kate has spotted this in November. And what she said is this flower is flowering, this beautiful flower with this bee on it as well, which for November is quite amazing that this is going on. And I think it's, again, I've said before, it seems so balmy at this time of year to have so much going on, including the bumblebees. Andy is wondering what this stuff is. He's found it underneath some weed suppressing membrane or something like that on some of his beds. To me, it looks a bit like it could be glass, but I've got no idea what it is. It could be sand. Any ideas of what you think it could be? It's quite tricky to tell from this photo. You can find all these photos in our Facebook group, of course. Digwell's got this mini harvest. I can see there's some beans, beetroot and broccoli. Oh, looking fantastic going on there. And Dean is asking what these beans are that are growing in his garden. Again, this is amazing for November. They look to me like Belotti beans, and I think everyone is in agreement with that. So I've forgotten to fill this one out. But if you do have any photos that you would like to send in, then please do. You can send them in by placing them in our Facebook group. That's the Veg Grower Podcast Facebook group. We've got a page and group. Just go join and you can post your photos in there. You obviously, not everybody is on Facebook, but if you're not on Facebook, you can send them to me via social media, Instagram, TikTok, direct message, that sort of thing. Just like Jamie did during this show with Instagram, or you can email them to me, richard@theveggrowerpodcast.co.uk. That's my email address, richard@theveggrowerpodcast.co.uk. Pretty easy. Pretty easy to do. Digwell says, waste of time sending in the rest of the photos then. Not at all, not at all, because they're still in the group to bring up conversation. This is where I was going, because there are more photos going on in the group. I like to restrict it to the show to only use one photo per person, depending on how many photos we get, just to add a bit of variety and so that there's a reason also for people to go into the Facebook group. But I want to drag up more conversation in the Facebook group, but I will select some of my favorites or some that fit the show to go into here. Bonnie says there's a Facebook group and she can send photos in. Yep, head to the Facebook group and you will find there. Spring is okay then, and Tabo stream. Let me freeze to death in winter and drown to death in autumn. Talking compared to the landlocked Birmingham and how we are here. It is time for Richard Rants and Raves, and this is a feature that we started recently. We weren't really liking the rants, but we were liking the raves. And this week we have got a rave. And I've just realised I meant to bring the photo for you. I forgot to bring it up. But I had a really good week this week, really good week. The highlight of my week has been that one of my new chickens, the one that we've called Panther, I got two new chickens about 6 weeks ago now. Steel and Panther, we've called them, because I was taking the mick out of my wife, and I think we'll call them Steel Panther. But Panther, she laid her very first egg. I'll put a photo in the Facebook group of this. She laid her very first egg yesterday, and it's this little egg, tiny little egg, only about that big, bit bigger than a quail's egg. She's not a bantam, so it's smaller than I was expecting, but it's her first ever egg, so I'm not complaining. But what really made me happy is this beautiful blue-green colour that this eggshell is. It looks wonderful. And it's one of the reasons that I've gone for this particular breed of chickens, is because I want different coloured eggs, just to be a bit different, but also so I can work out what chicken is laying what eggs. So this beautiful, tiny blue-green egg that looks absolutely stunning. And that's why I love it. Turbo Stream says, I don't do social media anymore. Even YouTube is getting bad these days too. You're on social media for us, though. You're on social media here. Yeah, but I'm with you. I don't really do social media. I should do more. I've said that very time and time again. Bonnie, I'm very new to the allotment world. Indeed. But you're doing great progress so far. Hashtag cookalong, egg recipe including saffron. Well, remember your suggestions for in just a second, because I think it is now time, actually, that we will go to see what has won or what will be our mission and our cook along for the next week. So everybody has entered hashtag mission. We've got 3 entries here. We're going to hit the button like so, and whoever wins this, whoever name pops up at the end, is going to be the mission that I have to do over this next week. And it's Digwell this week. I think he's won quite a few in the past. I can't remember what Digwell's mission was. So Digwell, if you could be kind enough to pop that in the comments what your mission was, that would be great. We will do the cook along mission as well. It's this one. Sorry, I used to be able to set them up before we went live, but I can't do that anymore. I have to do it as we go. Only 2 for the cook along. I thought there was more than that. It's between Scott and Bonnie. I thought there was more than that, I have to admit. Scott and Bonnie, who is going to win? And the winner is Scott. So, Scott, what was your suggestion for our cook along as well? Because I can't remember what they were. Scott says, pullet eggs. First eggs laid by the chickens are amazing. I used to be able to get them off a supplier, but hard to find now. Absolutely. Absolutely. I've never had it so where it's been so small before. So this is different. I mean, I've been keeping chickens for 10 years now, and all the other eggs have been full-size eggs, which has been great. But to get such a small one was quite surprising. Nicholas said, I had a new chick arrive September. It looks like a cross from a bantam hen and a large crossbreed crockerel. Chili sauce was the recipe. I've got to make a chili sauce, another chili sauce. My wife is not going to be happy with me, but I will do it. I will do it. Bonnie's in tears. I'm sorry. There's always next week. Please don't forget. We do this every week. If you've got a suggestion, remember it for next week. Come into the show, hashtag cook along, hashtag mission, and you can make your suggestion for next week. What have we got? Turbo Stream, my weekly mission is to remember the weekly subject, which is a right mission in itself. Yeah. Jenny has actually been helping me out with that, actually, but this is in the Facebook group. She put a reminder to remind everybody, and but I've probably got to do things myself. Now, talking of next week, I did have a plan for what we want to talk about next week. I've got to refine the question as I always do, but the main question for this week, or for next week's show, is can you tell the difference between homegrown and shop bought vegetables? Can you tell the difference? If you were to do a blind taste test, can you tell the difference? I know this is going to be a very subjective thing, so we'll try and do that next week. Nicholas says, as hens grow, they start with smaller eggs and increase with size. That's not been my experience. They've always been, normally I get the double yolkers when they first lay. So this is something a bit different. Bonnie's mission is to join our Facebook group. Please do. There's very little admin I have to do there, actually, but please do join it. Turbo Stream says, I'm going to suggest egg on toast this week. You've got to be in it to win it. So please do suggest whenever you do that every week. Right. Idaho says, Nicola, it'll be interesting to see. Oh, damn it. I've lost it because I'm using this small screen. It's really not set up for very well for StreamYard. Nicola, it will be interesting to see how that one chick grows out. Yeah, please do send us photos and everything. I would love to see them. Good night, Richard. Andrew. Adrian is off, says good night, Richard, and good night to you. Scott says saffron in the chili sauce. Oh, good idea. Idaho says she's very small. I buy from Sussex Pheasant. I don't know where that is, but yeah. What have we got? Terry Stream, I'm a 1 week just for a laugh, maybe Christmas or New Year. You know, it could happen. It could happen. Anyway, it is now 7:30. Where's the time gone? I have to say, it's flown by again. Hope you've enjoyed tonight's chat. I certainly have enjoyed it. It's been great sitting here chatting with you and finding out a lot about how you feel gardening has helped your health. It seems like a lot of you are very much on the side that it has helped your mental health, which is fine. It's been a really good show. But next week, I want to talk about if you can tell the difference between shop bought or homegrown produce. We're also going to be, I can't remember what Digwell's challenge was now. And he's probably off with his dinner now. But we're going to be making that chili sauce and whatever Digwell mission was. Right. You take care, guys. We will see you again next Sunday at 6. I just realised I haven't set myself up to go. But that is it from me this week. You take care, guys.